Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. In the previous lecture, we have talked about hypoxia in detail. One part of hypoxia is left that we are going to discuss today. So, we will study the effects of hypoxia on the body, and we are going to talk about the non-respiratory movements of the air into the lungs, or this topic is also known as the acts requiring special respiratory efforts. First, we are going to talk about the effects of hypoxia on the body. Now, before I tell you the effects of hypoxia on the body, I would like to emphasize that you should not confuse the effect of hypoxia on the body with the physiological response of the body to hypoxia. I am repeating that these two terms are different and you should not confuse them. Effects of hypoxia on the body and physiological response of physiological response of the body to hypoxia. Now, effect of hypoxia is basically the harmful effects of hypoxia, harmful effects of the oxygen deficiency produced on the different tissues and cells of the body. While physiological response of the body to hypoxia mean the compensatory mechanisms by which the body tries to diminish or to compensate the hypoxia. Like in the blood, you have studied that there is in response to hypoxia there is increased secretion of erythropoietin. So increased secretion of erythropoietin when there is hypoxia is a compensatory response, is a physiological response to hypoxia, while the effect of hypoxia are the harmful effects of oxygen deficiency on the body. So when there is oxygen deficiency or hypoxia due to any reason, it causes a depressed mental activity. So these are the effects of hypoxia on the brain. Hypoxia, decreased oxygen supply to the brain, will cause a depressed mental activity. It will produce drowsiness, disorientation, headache, twitching, and even seizures can be produced due to hypoxia. So hypoxia will cause an abnormal brain function. Due to hypoxia, the work capacity of the muscles is decreased and there is easy fatigability of the muscles. And severe hypoxia or severe oxygen deficiency can cause the death of the cells throughout the body. So these are the effects of hypoxia, harmful effects of hypoxia on the body. Now we are going to move on to the other topic, which is the non-respiratory movements of the air into the lungs, or the acts which require special respiratory efforts. Now these acts include the coughing, it's a reflex action, sneezing, again it's a reflex action, then are the hiccups, yawning, and sigh. So we are going to discuss these acts one by one. First, we are going to talk about coughing. Now, coughing, as I just told you, it's a reflex action. It is a reflex action and is protective in nature. Cough is a reflex action which is protective in nature and it helps to expel the irritants from the airways, mainly the trachea and the bronchi. And by expelling the irritants from the trachea and bronchi, it helps to keep the airway clean. So it helps to keep the airway clean. So it is a protective reflex and prevents damage to the epithelial lining of the airways, including the trachea and the bronchi. Now the stimulus for coughing is irritation. Irritation in the trachea and the bronchial tree produces coughing. Now, irritant substances can be mechanical irritants, or these can be the chemical irritants inhaled with air into the airways. Example of mechanical irritation is the irritation of airways by different foreign bodies or by dust, and the chemical irritation can be due to the release of the chemicals like histamine, or the vascular congestion which is produced by inflammatory reactions. So these are different stimuli which can cause irritation in the trachea and the bronchial tree and produce coughing. Now the receptors for coughing are the irritant receptors. So if there is an irritant substance present in the air, in the trachea and the bronchi, it is going to stimulate the irritant receptors present in the epithelial lining of the airways. These irritant receptors are free nerve endings and these ramify between the epithelial cells. Stimulation of the receptors causes the afferent signals to be generated, which are carried via the vagus nerve to the respiratory center. So afferent nerve is the vagus nerve which carries the signals to the respiratory center. Now the efferent nerves carry the signal back to the muscles, and the efferent nerves include the vagus nerve, phrenic nerve, spinal motor nerves. And the response which is produced is coughing. The mechanism of coughing involves a number of steps. The process of coughing can be divided into 3 phases. First, there is an inspiratory phase, then there is a compressive phase, and then there is an expulsive phase. So this is basically mechanism of coughing. Cough can be divided into 3 phases: inspiratory phase, compressive phase, and the expulsive phase. The efferent signals from the respiratory center first cause an inspiration. So inspiration is first stimulated. There is contraction of the diaphragm and there is expansion of the thoracic cage and glottis is opened. Now during the compressive phase, there is closure of the glottis. Glottis is closed and there is contraction of the muscles of expiration, including the abdominal muscles of expiration and the thoracic muscles of expiration. Now due to the contraction of the expiratory muscles and the closure of the glottis, what happens is there is build up of pressure in the thorax. So intrathoracic pressure builds up or increases as there is contraction of the expiratory muscles and there is closure of the glottis. So this is called as the compressive phase. Now the third phase is the expulsive phase. In expulsive phase, what happens is that there is abrupt opening of the glottis. Abrupt opening of the glottis, and there is a rapid and forceful exhalation. There is rapid and forceful expiration, due to which the air is expelled out of the airways under high velocity, and due to this movement of air out of the lungs into the atmosphere at high velocity, the irritant substances are carried along with, and the lungs and the airways mainly the airways are going to get rid of the irritant substance. I am again repeating this point, that during expulsive phase there is abrupt opening of the glottis and there is a rapid exhalation, and since in the compressive phase there is build up of pressure, so when glottis opens up, the air, it leaves the airways under high velocity, and when it moves under high velocity, it will carry the irritant substance along with it, and the airways are going to get rid of the irritant causing substance. Now coming to the sneeze reflex. Sneeze reflex, like cough reflex, is protective in nature. The stimulus for the sneeze reflex is irritation, but irritation in the nose or the nasal mucosa. In case of coughing, the irritation is in the trachea and the bronchi, while in case of the sneeze reflex, the irritation is in the nose. Receptors are the same. These are irritant receptors present in the nasal mucosa. The afferent signals from the irritant receptors in the nasal mucosa are carried via the trigeminal nerve and through the olfactory nerve too. Again, I am repeating that the afferent signals in case of sneeze reflex are carried through the trigeminal nerve, which is your fifth cranial nerve, and through the olfactory nerve too. Because sometimes you have observed that sneezing also occurs in response to a strong or an irritant smell. So the signals are carried through the trigeminal and the olfactory nerve. The center for the sneeze reflex is the respiratory center. Now the effect or the response is sneeze, and the mechanism of sneeze is almost the same as of the cough reflex, but there are a few differences. First, there is a deep inspiration, and along with the during deep inspiration there is the soft palate and the uvula are depressed. Now the significance of depression of the soft palate and uvula is to partially close the mouth, so that when there is expulsion of the air from the so that when there is expulsion of the air during expiration, it occurs mainly through the nasal cavities or the nose. In the case of sneezing, the glottis is open, so there is deep inspiration, soft palate and uvula are depressed to partially close the mouth, so it is mainly the nose through which the air is going to leave the airways. And during sneezing, there is expulsion of the irritant from mainly the nose but also from the mouth, because there is a partial closure of the oral cavity, not the complete closure. And this again movement is at high pressure and at high velocity. But in case when you compare it with the cough reflex, its velocity is less as compared to the velocity of air in sneeze reflex is less as compared to the cough reflex. Now this slide shows us the comparison between coughing and sneezing. There are a few differences as I just told you. Now we are going to see those differences. In case of coughing, the site of irritation is trachea and the bronchi, while in case of sneezing, the irritation is in the nasal mucosa. The afferent signals in case of coughing are carried through the vagus nerve and through the glossopharyngeal nerve if it is in upper part of the airways from the irritant receptors. And in case of sneezing, the afferent signals are carried through the trigeminal nerve. In coughing, the glottis is closed, while sneezing there is no closure of the glottis, it occurs with open glottis. So although there is high pressure in case of sneezing as well, but it is not as high as in case of coughing. And coughing is more explosive as compared to the sneezing. Coughing is a reflex action, but it can also be voluntary, but sneeze is always a reflex action. So this was about coughing and sneezing. Now we are going to talk about the hiccups. Hiccups are caused by spasmodic contraction of the diaphragm, which initiates the inspiration, but the glottis then suddenly closes, producing a characteristic sound and the sensation which is known as hiccups. So it is due to spasmodic contraction of spasmodic and brief contraction of the diaphragm, and which is interrupted by the closure of the glottis. Due to closure of the glottis, there is the sound and the sensation of hiccups. Usually hiccups last only for a short period of time, and they disappear either spontaneously or by certain maneuvers. You all must be knowing that when someone has hiccups, the holding of breath by closing the nose and the mouth cause the hiccups to disappear, and or by drinking water. If hiccups does not disappear by their own, or they persist for a long period of time, they can be treated by giving the drugs. And the different causes of hiccups include the distension of the stomach, may cause irritation of the phrenic nerve, or the irritation of the phrenic nerve due to other causes, or disorders of the central nervous system, and certain drugs and medicines can also cause the hiccups. Next is yawning. Now, yawning is an infectious respiratory act. It is defined as deep, involuntary, prolonged inspiration with open mouth. I am repeating that yawning is defined as deep, involuntary, prolonged inspiration with open mouth. It is often associated with the act of stretching. It is often associated with the act of stretching, and it is seen usually in sleepy states when someone is tired or fatigued, or in boring circumstances, or even watching a person yawn can also produce yawning. So because of this, that watching a person yawn will also make you yawn. It is called as an infectious respiratory act. The exact physiological mechanism and the significance of yawning is not known, but it is thought that it may have a psychogenic basis as well. Again, because of the same reason that watching a person yawn will make you yawn too. Although the exact physiological significance of yawning is not known, but it is thought that it may serve to open the underventilated alveoli. So it increases the ventilation of alveoli, and it also increases the venous return to the heart, which may improve the circulatory functions. So this was about yawning. Next is sighing. Sighing or sigh. It is a single, prolonged, audible inspiration followed by an audible expiration. Prolonged audible inspiration followed by an audible expiration. Sighing is usually an expression of grief. It is an expression of grief or an expression of fatigue. So this was about the acts requiring special respiratory efforts. I hope you understand the lecture. Thank you for the listening.